listeners, welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Friday, May 12th, 2017. I am Dave Biddle, and I'm very happy to be joined by Alex Gleitman. Alex, Taraja Mitchell came out and said he's down to 2. Not a big surprise. I think for a while it looked like he was down to Ohio State and Florida State, but he came out yesterday and told that to Luke Stampini on 24/7 Sports. Two-team race for Taraja Mitchell. Just who do you think is going to win out, Buckeyes or Seminoles?
Oh, man, this one's close. I mean, after his visit to Ohio State in April, I really thought he was going to be a Buckeye. I actually had sources from other schools, a couple down south, that were in this race, telling me that they just didn't think it was going to be Florida State, and that they thought it was actually going to be Ohio State. And then he had the visit. Ohio State hit a home run out of the park. He sets the visit. He moves up his commitment date following that Ohio State visit, which is always a great sign. So, you're sitting there kind of thinking Ohio State, but, he's still going through it. He actually can't. He was supposed to go to Clemson. He didn't end up making it to Clemson. That's obviously a great sign for Ohio State. But he's had this Florida State visit planned for a while, and, they were kind of the early favorite, and they were a school everyone thought, was the team to beat. And he has a couple teammates that are there right now or headed there next year in the class of 2017. And so, Florida State's always kind of been there, and he's making this visit. Odell Hagens is a great recruiter. He's the guy recruiting Taraja Mitchell, and this is going to be interesting to see what happens this weekend because Florida State, just like Ohio State, they're very good once they get players on campus. Jimbo Fisher is a good head coach recruiter, good closer, and so I think this is kind of Florida State's last chance to pitch Taraja Mitchell and kind of show them why they're the better fit than Ohio State. So right now my crystal ball is on Ohio State, but I think this one's starting to trend back toward the Seminoles. I know people at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center are a little bit nervous about this upcoming visit and them getting the last visit and him not returning to Ohio State before a decision comes at the end of May or early June.
Here's an easier one for you. Dallas Gant's going to decide on Tuesday. Who do you think he's going to pick?
I think he's going to pick Ohio State. I think, after Luke Biddle left, I think that there was, I don't want to say second thoughts. I think there was a little bit of pause from Dallas and his family. I think they wanted to get to know Bill Davis. I think they wanted to just make sure that Ohio State was a fit no matter who the position coach was. But at the end of the day, Notre Dame made a push, Michigan made a push, Penn State, Michigan State, et cetera, et cetera. I think he's going to be a Buckeye on Tuesday when he makes that announcement, and 24/7 Sports will be in the house. So, we'll have you covered on that one.
Let's talk some O-line recruiting. We'll start with Matt Jones from your neck of the woods, Erasmus Hall in Brooklyn. You're, of course, Manhattan, not Brooklyn, and I know you're walking the mean streets of New York City this morning as we speak. And Matt Jones is at the Future Phenom Showcase. Last week you were there covering it. Just what is the latest with Matt Jones as it pertains to Ohio State, Alex?
Yeah, no problem, and apologies for some of the background noise here. As you know, living in New York, you get a little bit of that here and there, but I got a chance to see Matt at the Future Phenom Showcase, as you mentioned, and I actually going into the event, I thought he was a defensive tackle prospect all the way. I know people have been recruiting him as an offensive lineman, but I've seen him probably more than anyone in America. I should say I definitely have seen him more than anyone in America, any coach, any network person, whatever, and I still thought, I see the upside at O-line, but I thought defensive tackle was his best position. And after seeing him this weekend, he was dominant as an offensive lineman. I feel really good about him projecting really at right tackle, guard, or center. I know Ohio State's kind of looking at him as center right now, and I think after this weekend, it's Ohio State and Penn State for sure, but I was getting a little uneasy. I thought Penn State was catching up to the Buckeyes, but I feel better than ever on my crystal ball for Ohio State for Matt Jones. I think he's going to be a Buckeye. I think it's going to happen probably by the end of June, maybe July, if he, depending on if he gets out for another visit or what other visit he has planned. But I think by the end of the summer, you're going to have Matt Jones as another offensive lineman commit for Ohio State.
And sticking with the offensive line, the number one offensive tackle in the country, number one player from the state of Ohio, Jackson Carman. Do you feel like he's going to be a Buckeye in the end? It just might take a while. Just give us the latest on Jackson Carman.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely the case. I still think Ohio State's number one. I know he's really high on Clemson, and I am not disregarding the Tigers. I think he really likes Clemson. I think he likes Dabo Swinney. He had a great visit there. I just think when push comes to shove, Ohio State has kind of been number one from the start, and I think they're going to be number one when it finishes. But I don't know if that's going to, I don't know when that finish is going to be. I think he's going to take official visits. I think he's going to enjoy the process, and I think a decision could come in December, January or maybe even signing day in February. But I think at the end, Ohio State is going to get Jackson Carman.
Before you jump on the subway there and we lose your cell connection, I want to ask you about the early signing period. We've talked about it for years. You know, I remember asking Jim Tressel if, you know, what do you think? Should there be an early signing period? That's Urban Meyer about it. Obviously, Urban always said he was not in favor of it. But this is a little different. Instead of doing it before the college football season starts, like in late July, which is how I thought they would do it if they enacted an early signing period, they're doing it, of course, in December 20th through the 22nd, so not that far off from signing day, and only about a week and a half before kids that enroll early would have to make their decision anyway. So I don't think it's a huge deal, but as I keep saying, it's a deal. I mean, it's something. Your take on finally an early signing period being enacted in college football?
Yeah, I go back and forth on this. It's tough because I think it's a situation-by-situation basis. For a kid like Elijah Gardner, who was all set on Missouri, but then got interest late from Ohio State and Notre Dame, and you know whoever else came into the mix, he ended up signing with Ohio State, flipping from Missouri in January or late January, early February. This isn't a good rule because Elijah might have said, "All right, I'm going to sign with the Tigers in December," and that's going to be that, and he wouldn't have had those opportunities. You know, for certain schools who are trying to. You know, like an Ohio State who's trying to, you know, they have an extra spot or two in the class, and they're trying to get that late gen, you know, that, you know, kind of down the stretch right there. And I think it's not a good rule there. But at the same time, for a kid maybe who, you know, is in danger of being dropped late by whatever school, it is a good rule. And we've seen that done across the board, whether it be a guy like Tavon Jacobs at Ohio State, kind of, whatever, if you want to call it a mutual decision, whatever, the guy was ultimately not really had a spot at Ohio State come late January. Michigan, we've seen that plenty of times as well. So in that case, it would benefit the student athlete in that case. And I think it could benefit a program in the sense that, you know, the guys who are 100% solid, you could really, you could just have them signed, sealed, and delivered and not have to worry about really recruiting them much in January. You can spend your time going after those top targets that are going to sign on signing day in February and things of that nature. So I think this rule is good in some cases. I think it's bad in some cases. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the first year plays out because, you know, there's going to be situations where, I mean, you might have a kid who you think is 100% committed. You send him an LOI to sign in December and he doesn't sign him and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on here? Are you not as solid as we thought you were? Like, what's kind of the holdup here? So I think there could be a lot of scenarios like that come out of this rule. And I mean, overall, I would have preferred having just one signing day in February. I think that's where I stand right now, but I'm willing to see how this plays out.
Great insights, as always, from Alex Gleitman. Thank you very much, Alex, and thanks to all the listeners out there for tuning into the show. I appreciate it. Hope you have a great day and a great weekend. Let's hear some Buckeye swag, best damn band in the land.